Calling all units, calling all units. Donut shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Donut Shop Podcast. I'm here with Daniel Pitaluga, and just real quick, where I met you, I was on a call at work, and I see you out in the street working out, practicing what I know is Murderball, but it's also now just kind of reclassified as Wheelchair Rugby. Wheelchair Rugby. So if you guys can't necessarily see, you can kind of see on the main camera, Daniel's in a wheelchair, rolled into the donut shop today instead of walked into the donut shop. But thank you for coming on the show. I've seen you a few times while I was at work, and I was like, dude, it's something that I know about that I felt would be kind of cool to talk about, and wanted to hear your story. Before today, we'd never really even had an extended period of a conversation, so I appreciate you coming on, and thanks. I mean, let's get to it. So what's up with you? Like, what kind of, what's your background, your history? Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so like you're right, I do play wheelchair rugby. I've been doing it for about 15 years. At least to 2010 or to 2012. Yeah, so I was in a car accident back in 2009. It was August 15th. I'll tell you a little bit about how that went down.
Sure.
I was with my friends, buddy of mine, and I think 3 other people. We were just hanging out at the house and ordered some pizza and said, man, we forgot to order some Coke with this pizza, and you can't have pizza without Coke.
Yeah.
So I
soda. This is somewhat of a law enforcement.
Okay.
Better said season too.
We had it, but it was soda. Yeah. He said, well, let's go to the nearby pharmacy and we'll go pick it up. I said, sure, come on. So we jumped into a pickup truck, and along the way, he basically just lost control. Lost control while going down the street in wet roads. And we spun left and right, and then jumped off the curb into the grass and hit a palm tree. I wasn't wearing my seatbelt, and I whiplash. The whiplash was so hard it broke my neck.
So that's where your injury is, and your C6,
C6, C7. I remember the sound of the crunching metal when it hit the tree. I did not go unconscious. Okay. I can tell you what that was like. Wow. The moment hitting that tree, everything spun. There was a ringing in my ear. Everything went blurry and spinning, and then just came back. And I had a huge, neck ring. I mean, I didn't know what it was. And I thought I was nervous because I thought I went to go grab my cell phone in my pocket, and I was just having a hard time getting it out. Mm-hmm. I didn't realize that I lost function in my hands instantaneous. I just thought I was nervous. So eventually, someone found us, called medics and stuff, and I was airlift. In fact, right to the hospital where I stayed.
Was that you were in South Florida or
Kendall?
Yeah. Kendall. Okay, so yeah, Kendall, Florida. Wow. So nailed it, and then you guys were just kind of there, and it was late at night, and so less people on the road, and just it was a single car accident into a tree. Do you think that not to make it a PSA, but like wearing your seatbelt, would it have made a difference, or was it just that gnarly of crash that? No idea.
You know what? For anyone who's not wearing their seatbelt right now, let this be a public service. And okay, wear your seatbelt, because we were only going about 30 miles an hour. Something really light. I remember someone told me that I had a big goose egg, big bump on my head.
Because you probably hit the windshield or something, or his part, the inside of the car, right head.
I don't remember hitting anything, but it was there. Yeah, and I have to believe that 30 miles an hour, a seatbelt would cheek sakes. But who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, my first summer in college, I was doing that up in Orlando with a small light truck getting on the highway and change gears, and it was wet, rainy roads, and just started fishtailing, and boom. And luckily, it was also at a slow speed, and we kind of just guided into the side into the guardrail. But scary stuff. That to this day, I still get a little sketchy driving in the rain. Like, not terribly, but you know how bad it could get and when the roads get slick and stuff like that. So you were saying 3 months in the hospital.
Yeah, I did a month in inpatient. It was ICU for a week bit. I went about a week and a half, something like that. And about 2 months in inpatient therapy before they released me. And I had to relearn life.
Yeah.
Everything is different. And literally the blink of an eye, your whole life changes. And everything's going to be you. Not always you.
So C6, obviously it's high up in there. It's a cervical spine in your neck. Generally, I'm dumb to some of this stuff. I would say everything below it gets impeded. Or so were you quadriplegic where you had, like, what was your diagnosis, Ken?
Yeah, I am now considered a quadriplegic. Although I have great function in my arms, my hands are shot, so they open up, and I can't close them. But I can't grab things. My overhead's gone. I used to play guitar, I used to play piano, all that's gone.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw you open the water bottle with your mouth, so holding it with your palms and then using the mouth to open it up.
Every chance to be strategic now.
Yeah?
It's just all dip. Exactly. And life is just lived a little bit more carefully. Interesting.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, there's, and that's also one of the reasons why I want to talk to you, because there's so many things that any of us take for granted, as we do. And it's one thing if you were perhaps, born with a cervical injury or a spinal injury that you've lived your whole life, but you've gone from living your life with an ability and then you had that ability taken away. So 2000, you said 2009?
Yeah. So
15 years, like, a long time. So
it was only about maybe 10 months later, something like that. I had one of my therapists had another patient who was the star of a movie called Murderball. Then so his name.
I was going to write all that stuff down to bring it up. But yeah, Murderball, and the first time I met you, that's one of the things that I brought up was it's an awesome documentary. It's on Netflix. You can get it. I don't think I'd pay for it. I think I got it on Netflix, or maybe it's on Amazon.
You can find it,
but you can find it. It's called Murderball. It's really cool, and it's a good documentary of a big group of guys that with all kinds of injuries, either from car accidents, from life, from the military, all kinds of stuff. And they play wheelchair rugby. And originally it was called Murderball because it looks like you guys are trying to kill each other. It's a gladiator battle in wheelchairs. And my wife had to do it because my wife's an occupational therapist, and her teacher was helpful in that creation. She might have been that actual therapist. I know the actual name. You don't remember? I don't remember her name. But she made or had it as an assignment. All the students watched that show, that documentary.
What university is it?
At Kaiser.
I think we talked to that. Was her invited me that came out and talked to that talk.
No,
I quit. That occupational therapist did retire and went to Kaiser.
Yeah.
And at one point she had me come in.
Okay.
I thought this dude cool. I had it.
Yeah. Then my wife was at the Cumber Pines campus.
That was it.
Cool. So, yeah. So maybe she's seen you teach or speak during your class. Or
like here we are now.
And weird circles. But yeah. So I thought that was really cool, and then I've since recently watched it in the few Olympics that have followed since my wife remembered about it, and I watched it with her. And I watched it in the Olympics, and it's freaking cool because it's a lot of work. It's not easy. But before we get into the Murderball and the wheelchair rugby and stuff like that, like, what else goes with sort of what you're doing. You drove here yourself.
Yeah.
You rock all that kind of stuff is really cool.
Yeah. Like I said, I did have to learn a new way of life. There's things that have been modified. Like even the way I use the restroom, completely modified. Can't just stand up and use a urinal anymore. Yeah. So things have changed that way. I had to have special equipment to go take a shower. If not, then what I'm going to do is stay on the floor. I guess I could do that. It's quite really dangerous.
Yeah.
I do use a vehicle because I have to continue to live life. I could continue just trying to live off of government benefits, but that wasn't my life. I wanted to try to exceed, be successful in life, and be a contributing member of society. So to do that, I went to get British recognition. I wanted to get to a job, I needed to get a car, and so I installed hand controls on it. How you doing this one up?
Yeah. YouTube University. Yeah. Finagled it all together.
But yeah, it's hand controls. So I just take apart my wheelchair, I put it in my SUV, and I do the opposite in the way back and reassemble it and get out, get in. And that's how I go to grocery shopping or go shopping. I go to work. I go pick up or drop off my kids, tell them daycare or something.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. And it's great. And then just, I'm sure for mental health and all kinds of stuff gives you more to be able to not have to be so depending on everybody. And you still do some of the things that you've been able to do or you were able to do before, which is awesome.
And I do want to say though, I think one of the things I'm most proud about myself, and that is the 15 years now, I feel like I am now the mentor for people who are going through something that I went through, but I didn't have that mentor here. I kind of did it on my own until I found that sport of wheelchair rugby, where I started meeting other people across the country, because down here in South Florida, kind of limited to our demographics, and there just wasn't anyone to look up to that had something similar to me. But it'd be people across the country that were doing things like that I wanted to do. I was able to learn from that. So now I get to be that local piece, the local chapter of how to do life in a different way that's a little bit more aggressive, or like trying to overachieve of what people typically think I could and can't do. So one of the things I'm most proud about is my parenting. I am really proud of myself for being a parent to two children. I have one that's 6 and 3 years old. They are a handful.
Young kids are a handful for sure. Just to get out, yeah.
And for anyone whose parents out there, they're boys, so they're troublemakers. Yeah. I get calls from the school sometimes, like, hey, you gotta come pick up your kid, he's acting a fool. Yeah. So to handle something like that, it's not only challenging, but man, I'm proud of myself, because there's some things that I'm like, I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah. No, hell yeah, I recommend you on that. That's awesome. You know, and that's the cool thing with, you know, like, let's call it a hobby at first, you know, learning the wheel or getting into the wheelchair rugby and stuff. I've always been a serial hobbyist, as my wife said, you know, his podcasting stuff. I've done Star Wars costuming, and you get into these networks of people, and you can find bits and pieces of life, either like it's Star Wars through Star Wars, or through podcasting. And then I meet people that know how to do some of the technological side of it, so they teach me about it. And so the same thing kind of comes to, you're getting into wheelchair rugby, and you're in that sphere of a group of people that have some of the same stories that you might have, that have maybe been there longer, or have had another mentor, and that can bring it into you, which is it's hands down on some of the best things with whatever that happens to somebody, be it mental health or a traumatic incident or something like that, to be able to get into a group of people that you might meet, that somebody that's had this happen to them before, and just so you know that you're not the first person, you're not the only person, and you're not alone, and that they can give you tips and tricks to learn about, which is awesome.
You kind of mentioned it, that what you do and what you have, your abilities right now, you kind of take for granted. Just the way you just sip a cup of coffee like that, I might have to do it in a different fashion. If you ever wanted to think about, well, how does he get it? So this is a way you could do it. Me specifically, my hands, I can open them, but I can't close them. So go ahead and do that, and just try to do life like that. Why don't you go ahead and try to write your name?
Totally. Yeah.
So and then you'll realize, oh my God, this is a mission. And that's just like,
So what about with the thumbs?
Well, finally, his move became graphic.
Okay.
And this one's there.
And the strength isn't there anyways, even if you were to grasp, especially like you think like a cup, like a ceramic cup here, it's so much heavier than just like a paper cup from Dunkin' Donuts. So just that picking up of two different types of cups, or all the different types of stuff. I like pales in comparison, of course, but I've broken both my wrists, and I had one in a thumb spike cast and one in a brace. And so there's, how do you wipe your ass kind of thing. You have to adapt. And that's one of those things that, I learned through the occupational therapy with my wife. This was way before she ever got into the field, but it's create adaptive equipment. There's equipment in life that may not necessarily been made for that specific purpose, but it serves a function, so you use it. And you have to adapt, and you do better by your situation and how it works. So you have on your hands like kind of the leather strap, for those in podcast land that can't necessarily see it, but on the cameras you can see it, and that kind of helps with your.
This is my grip. Okay. Oh, since I can't close my hands to grab the wheel, this is where all the friction is going to come from, and how I'm going to be able to push my wheelchair. However, when it's raining outside, I'm stuck. Oh, there. I'm like, it's a real mission to try to get going anywhere. So I'm like, almost like sugar now. Yeah, I try to avoid rain as much as possible.
Yeah. So and so that's one of those things. So it's got the friction, and then it probably also protects your hand as well, because it's probably one of those things that if is the feeling there in your hands?
I do. Yeah.
Well, okay. sort of feelings there. I do. I'm gonna ask some dumb questions. I'm sorry, guys. I'm gonna ask some questions because I don't know.
No, it's really always common open book. Or now I'll go ahead and I'll share almost anything here.
Okay.
And I do have sensation all the way up high arc, and it goes away right above the nipples, and then it's just knocks out.
Okay, so like just above the nipple line down, belly, all that kind of stuff.
It's just dormant. It's just I can't move it. I can't feel it, and it's like you feel like it's there, but whenever someone touches you, nothing. Yeah. I had similar to like when you go to the dentist and they give you that injection and make it
a little bit can't block, or they hit the nerve. I mean, because you're dealing with nerves, so they go for the nerve. It's a right base of your cheekbone, and
imagine on your full body. So that's something similar.
Yeah, and then sometimes, like you were saying, when the feeling might come back, might be some of that where you can kind of get it. You're sort of getting it back in your jaw, but it's not there, and then it's there a little bit. You'll go on it.
So if I had that, it'd be a miracle. Because I don't even get that. That's almost impossible. If I were to break my foot, I wouldn't know it.
Wow.
I would just see the purple.
Yeah. So that's another thing is you have to be real conscious of all your parts to make sure that everything's staying healthy, because it still has the opportunity to affect it make you sick if you get sores or you get an infection or whatever. It could still make your body septic and all that kind of stuff. So you got to protect all that kind of stuff. So it's serious thing, man. It's really cool. That you're still here. That you had to get up. Nothing happened. That you didn't die in the car crash and all that kind of stuff. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Yo, what's up, everybody? I want to let you know I have a new website format. Same website, donutshoppodcast.com, but this time I'm running it through Shopify. Make it much easier to purchase items because aside from the hats that I have up there, Donut Shop Podcast, PVC hats, the blue line snapback, laser mesh, nice and clean on the inside, comfy hats, I have some other swag, t-shirts, can koozies, just some other stuff that I put up there. I'm running the website through Shopify, and so it'll make it real easy for you guys to go on and purchase some stuff and support the show. So thanks for tuning in and following the show, and don't forget donutshoppodcast.com. Thanks. All right, we're back, and well, like that commercial said, we got these lovely mugs and the hats over on donutshoppodcast.com. Check it out.
These are probably my new favorite mug right here.
New favorite mug, look at it, and you're rocking it. You can hold it. The handle works.
So it's
get it next to them. It's a new style. In the old shows, I used to have a different like camping mug style, but it was like a heavyweight, sturdy. My cousin made them. These ones are a different brand, and they got the other logo, donut and the bullets, on there. So today, got to support the kids. Got to keep working. Got to keep out there surviving. You were telling me before the show that you work at the VA. Are you a veteran, or like how'd you get involved with the VA, and then what do you do there?
It's a great question. It's kind of a funny story. I had just finished getting my degree in architecture. I thought I wanted to be an architect for real before I graduated. I was like, I don't think I like this.
Oh, really?
You know what? I needed to finish that degree. That piece of paper was really core. Okay. To make sure that even though I've gone through a lot of trials and overcoming a lot of obstacles, there was a piece of paper that said that I'm bigger than my trials. And so I just wanted that. I wanted that confirmation so that I can do anything. And kind of like a stepping stone to say that if I push hard enough, I can be what I want to be. Mm-hmm. So what I decided is I don't want to be an architect.
Hey, you could take 4 years or whatever it took to figure that out. Now I know. So
the thing is that they give you an opportunity. There was an office that was specifically designed to help people with disability kind of find some sort of employment. And luckily, the Department of Defense came down to my university. I was looking to recruit people with disabilities because they wanted to diversify their workforce. So I'm like, okay, I had the minimal qualifications to be eligible for one of their positions, and they hired me. And then I had to move to Columbus, Ohio, and it is so. I went from unemployed at home, just finishing up school, just kind of being a mentor for some other people, to, hey, you got to leave, you got to go live life. And so telling someone like me early on, hey, you got to move out, you got to go live on your own. That was the next major step. So there's no other. There's choice was taking and push and see what you can do in life. So that was the stepping stone. It introduced me to the federal government. I started working at Human Resources, and I worked for the Department of Defense until like 2019. When I moved back here to Miami area, so work did happen, but we get snow.
Yeah.
In Ohio. But I did it for a couple of winters, and I said that's it.
Yeah.
And then I took the job at the VA. I was working for Human Resources at the VA. So that.
Okay. So it was DOD up there, HR, DOD. Did they do any kind of, I mean, because they obviously knew that you had wheelchair and stuff like that, did they do anything to help set you up there, or did you have to scout it all out yourself, figure it all out yourself?
A little bit of both. Okay, I did have to do a pre-move to kind of scout out different apartments that I wanted to live in, just kind of scout out the area, and then but about work-related scenario, they provided me almost anything that I needed to make sure to be functional in our position. The thing is, I'm the kind of had the personality that I want the least amount of accommodations. I want to be as normal as possible. So if I can do things without having to modify it, I will definitely do it. So there wasn't much accommodation. So I might want to not modify a keyboard or something like that for people. Mm-hmm. Other than that, it was just a transition that I would have to learn, and I was able to accomplish it. That's it.
Sweet. Yeah, cool. And then Columbus is, I'm sure it's cold. My friend goes up to a Cleveland area and Sandusky and stuff, so it's right there off the lake in Ohio, and just freaking the lake cold comes in then, and I'm not sure, especially coming from, because you were born and raised in South Florida.
Yeah, I was born and raised in South Florida, but when I moved to Ohio, I'll tell you what, I don't know if anyone that listens are out there, but if you moved there, man, you're gonna become a Buckeye fan. It's a cult. It's a cult.
Oh, there's nothing you can do about it?
No.
And coming from South Florida, that's like one of our like pseudo arch enemies because of national championship game, Willis McGahee, all that kind of stuff. University of Miami. So yeah, it's not like it's not like a fiery thing. Kind of like a Notre Dame thing, but Miami, Notre Dame. But Ohio State is definitely not on the low list of South Florida fans if you're of the UM.
Right.
Fan, but
the thing is, it's nobody up there even thinks about UM. Like UM, because of what happened in that, I think it was championship game.
Yeah.
And the reps, I guess, stole the last ball. They kind of changed everything around. Boy, Ohio State won that one, and they don't even think twice about who the Canes are. But the Canes have this massive hate for Ohio State. But it's one-sided. It's like no one's thinking about them down there.
I mean, that's just history. Like the history books are written by the winners, so they really don't care. That national championship is up there on the wall in the stadium, and we don't even really think about sometimes who we played. And for them, unless it was Penn State or Michigan, so it's just for them. Was big conference rivals, was local rivals for them. I'm sure it's Ohio State. Okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, but it's such a big school, an important school for Ohio and then that region and stuff. So they have a huge following. So, okay. So do you still follow Ohio State?
I do. I do it. Once I left, it became part of my life. Even though I didn't go there or anything like that, people in Miami don't go to my university. I mean, they're still Kings fans.
Okay.
It's like that.
Yeah. I agree with you. And it's not to say that I'm like a big Canes fan, but I definitely grew up with Canes. And it was it's a South Florida, like you're saying, it's a pedigree, it's a thing that you kind of ingest if you want to. But I mean, I went to UCF, so I'm a fake national championship, all that kind of stuff. I'm a fan of that. But how long were you in Ohio?
About 5 years.
Yeah, good time to indoctrinate yourself and kind of get used to it. It's just sometimes it's nice to live somewhere else and kind of get a different view on life, and especially from South Florida, we had such a
I will tell you that the people that live in those kind of cities that are a little smaller, it's a different vibe. There's a little bit more so we're looking for like a love for where they live, this sense of neighborhood, this sense of culture, and they take pride in being Ohioans or part of Columbus. And I don't really see that here. Maybe it's because we're such a diversified group.
Yeah.
We are very, very diverse out here. And people come from all types of different countries. There's people, they take pride in where they came from, and it's not where they live. So this is the mixed alphabet soup thrown in over there, it's a little bit more one-sided. There are other nationalities. People just really take pride in where they live. So I'd really loved that piece of it up there. I kind of wish South Florida took a little bit more hold of that. We had more festivals and more pride and more like I'm a Floridian or up Miamian or
I mean, there's things that try, but yeah, it's difficult. And like I've always been really big into soccer, and that's always been a huge thing that's difficult to get people in South Florida behind the team in South Florida for soccer. You know, we've done it for years, and it took the greatest player in the world to come here and you really still don't have people that, you know, we could go through this parking lot, we could go into this Dunkin' Donuts and ask people who their local soccer team is down here, and they probably don't even know. And you've got the greatest player of soccer in the world playing for them. So it's tough because everybody came from a different country or you know, a different area. You know, at least when we're speaking to the Latin American group, the Hispanics, all that kind of stuff, people are gonna have their draws to their Argentinian team, their Brazilian team, or they were already mentally associated with some Spanish team or European team. Then I'm not picking up a different team, you know, or it's just, yeah. So it's something with South Florida that you definitely have, like you said, it's a hodgepodge, melting pot, a huge mix of people, but it gives it its little different flavor too, I guess. But it's different. It's different for sure. So you're down here. You're back down here now with the VA. You know, working HR still, or
still recruiting for HR. So I recruit for the entire right now. I supervise an entire team that recruits for the VA in Wilmington, Pennsylvania. So technically I'm robot.
Oh,
sorry. So, but before that, it was with the Miami VA, and so recruited that too, and including police officers actually.
What do you do? Like what kind of stuff? Like actual like the VA police and stuff.
Yeah, or recruited for the VA police, all from their base level policemen to their chief and everything within their department.
Okay. Oh, cool. Yeah. So it's yeah. No, that's a you know, of course. So are you able to then work from home for that, or you go to like Miami VA, or?
I used to, but now I do work exclusively from home. So that has been a huge assistance for me, because I mean I don't have to worry about getting dressed every morning into proper, you know, proper attire, making the drive all the way over there. And like I told you, I do have to put a wheelchair in the car and take it out every single day, rain or shine, and end up in the office. So that was one thing I got cut out by like that. It gave me some more time, that commuting time, to be able to, I don't know, pick up my kids a little earlier and hang out with them and be that.
And still accomplish all the tasks that you need to for your daily assignments for work. Because there's so much now that we can do remote. You know, when you're going to be talking to people across the country about coming to, you know, the Miami VA or wherever we're recruited for, or you said Wilmington, PA. You know, so
I'm like, oh, sorry.
Wilmington. What? No, there's Wilmington, North Carolina, Delaware.
Yeah, it's like right. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. But so you're talking to people from all across the world or all across the country, and so you can deal with some of that stuff or so much of it remote.
I am, and I'll tell you though that was I kind of told you that transition from that university helped me get into my foot through the door into the DoD. That was the stepping stone into my career. And the one thing that you will see only about 1% of people with disabilities is them to have a successful career. So I consider myself extremely lucky, because that's not talent. Or for me to be able to get lucky enough for the federal government to go and hire people with disabilities, that was just a complete lottery win on my account. And I didn't blow it. I've taken advantage of it to make it a career that I'd live off of, you know, and be financially, you know, comfortable. And that's what matters. Yeah. But the thing is, most people don't have that opportunity once you're in a wheelchair. There's limited things that you can do. You want to be a carpenter, or you want to do construction, it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult because there's going to be a lot of inaccessibilities. People don't think about the accessibility in everyday life. And those are the obstacles that we have to come over. And It's just the fact that I have something that has worked out for me. It's a huge win, but it allows me now to be able to tell others who go through something similar how to be successful as well.
So tell me about that, right? What's like, tell me a story or a little bit about, maybe somebody that you've worked with more locally, and how do people either reach out to you or you reach out to them? If not through Wheelchair Rugby, is there other ways like before Wheelchair Rugby?
Like a couple things, actually. The first is that there is a hiring authority for the entire federal government called the Schedule A Hiring Authority. This allows the federal government to non-competitively hire people with disabilities that are certified by their doctor to have a disability and to be employed. Otherwise, it's the hardest part of getting your foot in through the door. You're up against every single other person. So this is a way for them to do that. And for the benefit of the agency is diversifying your workforce angle. Hey, we are inclusive. We do not discriminate against what you have as long as you can get the job done. That's important too. So when you come on, you're on a 2-year probation. Make sure you forget that job done. Yeah. But that is something that made for not only someone who is in recruitment in an HR that has the ability and has that knowledge now can share with others. So I found it as an obligation and an opportunity for me to help people that have gone through what I've gone through or something similar by teaching them. And so I've had a couple of classes that I've done, some I've taught or hosted at meetings and stuff like that for like 43-step work groups and just to teach. And it's all about this opportunity and how to follow the path I did so that they should have something at least similar to what I.
Well, and kind of where to look, because sometimes it's like one of the biggest problems is like we don't know where to look. You Google something and you don't always know what search words to use. You don't know how far down to scroll to actually find something, and then things might be sort of hidden, behind a few layers, and you might get frustrated, and so to have somebody that's gone through it, and then it has experience in it, and then of course now with a human resources background, you know even more how to navigate through. Like I'm thinking about that a little bit myself because I've worked in a career for 20 years myself, and I'm going to be 43 and retiring in 9 months. I was telling you that I'm going to be applying somewhere else. So it's like, oh man, it's been a long time since I've applied for something, other than a different position within the department or something like that, which is different. I mean, yeah, I have a resume, all that kind of stuff, but it's and I'm on LinkedIn, and there's pages dedicated to that talk about turning a law enforcement career into a corporate career or this or that, how to make those kind of transitions, because there's those of us that don't necessarily want to put the badge back on and go run to another agency and start a whole nother career or something like that we just want to take our experiences and move into a new field. But it's starting to hit me a little bit, not to say that I'm nervous or worried. It's a little more excitement, but it's like, I'm going to fill out an application. I'm like, because people ask me, what are you going to do? And I'm like, man, I don't care. I'll go work at Walmart. I'll go work at Dunkin' Donuts or something like that. But it's like, oh man, I'm going to have to fill out an application. I'm going to have to, it's not walking in and just shaking your friend's hand and just like putting on an apron and going to work. You still got to go through the HR and the hiring process and stuff. So,
yeah, there's in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, because not everybody, but there's 3 types of relationships in your life. And the third one is the one that I'll tell you most about, which I think is probably the most applicable to you or someone who's kind of finishing up a career, which congratulations on a great career. And the 3 types of relationships are that you have a mentee, really someone who looks up to you and looks up to, it sees what you're doing, it tries to mimic it, and it asks you for advice. The middle one is like colleague, where someone who's kind of going through the same thing you are going through. They're at a similar stage of life, and you guys can kind of vibe about what you're going through and how it's similar or differences, and kind of learn from each other. And the third one is the mentor. And actually, I reverse the mentor and the mentee. But the mentor is the person you look up to and who you seek advice from someone who has much more experience than yourself. And so I reverse that is because the mentee is probably the one that you will be seeking, or you should be seeking at some point in your career or in life in general. When you gain so much experience, you have this knowledge and this experience that's invaluable to some people who are just starting out their lives or their careers or hobbies, whatever you want to call it. And you're a valuable asset to them. They need you. They need you to guide them. And so it comes to a point where the more we can have mentees, that will, I feel, be more fulfilling, and come to a point where I feel like this has all come full circle, where now I'm being able to share with other people so that they can do the full circle as well. And we just keep going and going and going. But you become successful when you're now teaching others. And that's where the joy comes at the end. It's no lie about you, it's about others.
Yeah, that's society, that's history. I mean, imparting your knowledge onto the newer generations and in giving it away, like not leaving with it and just taking it. Like you've got to give your knowledge to people, because we're not going to be here someday. And so if everything dies with you, then what good did you do? I'm not trying to say get statues made of us and stuff like that, but it's like those little things that each of us have learned through years, through the day-to-day life. If you can change somebody just a little bit, or put a little bit of knowledge, I'm huge on. I love teaching people. Like, I mean, I talked to you about these cameras and all this kind of stuff when we were setting up, and I'm all about providing the knowledge to people. And that's one of the, I guess, reasons for this platform, for Donut Shop Podcasts is maybe if I don't have the information, I can show you someone that does have that kind of information. So if there's anybody ever watching, an episode or clicks on it because of the hashtag or a search term and finds a gentleman that's, had a spinal cord injury and kind of how he's excelled through life and managed life, I hope we can help one person with that. So that being said, let's take another break and then we'll be right back.
Sure.
Hey guys, I'm sure that there's many of us that are aging and we've thought about hormone replacement therapy. I visited my doctors and discussed it, and I'm still kind of on the fence and not really sure what I want to do. But now I think I've kind of found it, and I know that we could all use a boost of testosterone in our life. Well, check out the best in the game, Human Performance Team. It connects you with doctors via telehealth, and you could submit your labs that you've maybe already done, or you can get fresh ones done. They offer a variety of services like primary care, urgent care, weight loss, and even mental health. We all know that, these jobs weigh on us and our mental health. Jump over to hptrt.com and use the code DSP for a continuous discount. Use the code DSP and get on a road to better health. All right, we're back. And like that commercial said, it's I'm doing the HPTRT. I'm not just a spokesperson or whatever. I'm also a client. So I just recently started that last week. So I'm going to just do a separate video about it. But if you're interested, follow the link that I talked about in the commercial and check it out. And then I'll talk about it more on Instagram and stuff like that. I'm a promotional HPTRT. So like testosterone, as we get older, testosterone lowers and stuff. So it's just, not just sex drive stuff, but like, energy, you get tired later, earlier in the night, muscle fatigue is a different thing, gains in the gym, working out hard and then just not being able to see the gains. And some of that is done because of what we, as we age, our bodies produce less testosterone.
Man, it sounds like that's a healthier option than like an energy drink or Red Bull. That's coffee.
Yeah,
coffee. Exactly.
I drink a lot of coffee. I try to stay away from energy drinks because in my 20s I had AFib, and so my heart was fluttering crazy. But that was all because I was burning the candle at both ends, being a crazy dude, and running around the bars and then going to work. Well, not drunk at work, but just run life raggy, and the heart just wasn't doing well with the Red Bull and vodka and all this kind of stuff. So I stay away from it. When people try to put a energy drink in my face, I'm like, nah, man, my heart's gonna explode. But I'll drink coffee, and thankfully it's been well. So, but we weren't necessarily done before we took the break, and it's not all sunshine and flowers in life, with what's going on with you, and then just you said divorce is in the cards right now too.
Yeah. So I was saying that not everything has been easy. I had not overcome every obstacle perfectly. I did go through life. I did get that job. I met a girl, and then got married. Had 2 children, and then now we're going through a divorce. That's nothing. I mean, maybe you could say that I could have done something different. Maybe not. Maybe it's just by chance. And then if you want, we can get deeper into that. If that's how you have, okay.
I mean, as long as nothing's gonna come up in the proceedings, I don't want to get deposed or hauled into court and stuff because anything you might say on his bill. But these are all things that are definitely relatable to a greater society.
Yeah. So maybe someone else was going through something like that too. So my wife was having an affair, and so I tried to save the marriage for a few weeks after she was unable to end it be a partner. And so, I cut ties, and we went our separate ways, moved out. She moved out, and I had to basically every other week be a single dad. And the fact that happened changes everything. I had to learn how to be not just a solo guy in a wheelchair living by himself, but now I have to be a dad. And this at the time, it was a 4 or 5-year-old and a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
And so that is really hard. Because now I'm changing diapers without hand. I can't say how much times I had poop underneath my fingernails. And yeah. Kids waking up in the middle of the night, and messes all over the floor, and the whole drama. You know what? What are you?
No, I'm not good, but I get it. I can relate to a 5% of it with small dogs or with puppies when we had puppies and stuff. So I would never equate it to the same thing. But there's a crying, or hey, I made a mess, or something in the middle of the night when you're in a dead sleep, and I would imagine for you it's not a pop out of bed and rush to whatever childhood emergency might be happening.
I will say the hardest part, well, not the hardest, but the thing that was the most unlikely thing for me to overcome in that situation, though, was learning how to get a 2-year-old in and out of a car seat in the back seat of the park. Oh, I had a video that I had posted because I also had a not-for-profit Instagram page, which because of the divorce, the ex-wife shut it down and kicking out of all the logins. So that I had
because you guys were partners in that sort of.
We were, and then she booted me out. I was unable to log in as many times as I tried, and then she shut it down. So all those videos are gone. But I had a great video about me taking the child out of the car seat with the car seat. I don't know what you call it, like the bucket thing, putting it on my lap and taking it.
The carriage. Yeah, so you're talking about an infant carrier. I'm a car seat installer, whatever, certified. So yeah, you're talking about the infant carrier that you're going to get at the beginning, where there's the base that's attached inside the car, and then usually there's an infant carrier that you can detach and you can bring in and put it in the shopping cart at Publix or what have you. So okay, and that's always one of the big things that we deal with, when we talk to moms and stuff, because as the kid gets heavier, those things aren't necessarily light. They're plastic and lightweight fibers and stuff, but then you start adding in a 10-pound, 15-pound sack of flour, it's gonna be,
that's right,
it's heavier, and we've already talked about dexterity and hand strength and stuff. So exactly. You're dealing with different challenges aside from just yourself, and you're dealing with a living being.
That's right. And so I would assemble my wheelchair from the side of the car, and then click the car seat carriage outside the base, and bring it up to the front seat, get into the wheelchair myself, and then bring the car seat carriage over onto my lap, and hold the car seat carriage with my chin or my teeth while I go up a ramp over the sidewalk and into the house. So it was intense. I'm very sure that you got over 100,000 views. If you and I look at that, I'm like, man, I'm losing me. That's crazy. But I can't believe I did it.
No, I mean, it's because that's a big thing, because it's a balancing, it's a strength, it's a, and then God forbid the kid starts throwing a fit or is fussy and they're kicking and moving. So it's adding, gyrations or instability, to a very unstable platform that you're trying to, and then to protect the kid too, and make sure that they don't get injured and that you don't get injured. And then to add to doing it by yourself, like you said, which if you're doing it as a single parent, I'm sure. So was it like on YouTube?
Yeah, it was on YouTube, which that might still be on there, but it was also on Instagram. That was the main page. It was called Accessible Vacation, so I don't think it's still up anymore. Yeah. But it was a way for me to get my platform out there to tell people how I do life, so you can kind of see the behind the scenes look.
Yeah.
And I think that the amount of effort I put into parenting it's like so intense that my kids felt it. They knew that their dad loved them. So now I have a tremendous bond with them. And they just love bonding with me and going out on walks with me. They'll sit on my lap and we'll go out for 2 months on a push.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just for us to connect. And that's how I do it. And it's because I just put so much effort and I love them deeply. Yeah. So. Yeah,
you said intense, but I also was thinking intentional. Like you're doing something because you want to.
Yeah.
Not because you have to. You want to. And you've created that connection, and that's one of the places that we run into each other out in the street. So you call it going out on a push because you were full blown sweat, and I basically stopped you to say, like, hey, we need to talk. I want to talk. The second time I talked to, and so you're on a full push on a workout, to keep up your cardio, keep up your strength.
Exactly.
There's a nice long road in the neighborhood that you can roll down and get it going.
Yeah. So that's also part of my wheelchair rugby journey. Is that I'll tell you, when I first started back in 2009, 2010, it was fun. It was fun. It was recreational. We went to tournaments across the country.
So 2009, 2010, did you kind of start that not long after you sustained the injury and stuff?
Direct.
So you've been doing this almost this whole second chapter of your life, kind of thing.
It has been a huge part of my identity. I would consider myself one of the top people in my class in the country. One of the fastest. Makes playing much easier, so you just get around people.
So speed. So you got like wide receiver speed in equation of what you're doing.
Okay. It's for my class. Say the different function levels, and so the highest function levels and the highest point values in the sport, and then the lowest functioning levels have a lower point value. But the thing is, you can't exceed 8 points at once amongst 4 people on the court at the same time.
Okay. All right. So let's just paint. Let's start a little bit on that, painting this picture. So I'm going to paint a picture, at least from my viewpoint of what I've seen, to kind of explain it to the layman's that maybe don't, and I'll try to like splice this in maybe to a reel or something like that. Wheelchair rugby, formerly called Murderball, but I guess that's a little taboo. But it's on like a basketball court, say a basketball court or a volleyball court. So usually an indoor type section, and then similar to soccer, there's a goal. There's a painted area that's like a goal size to it, and you have to take the ball and roll to it. Yep. And get into it. Just like if anybody doesn't understand rugby, like a football type, like an American football, you have to get into an end zone to score. It's not throwing it through a hoop or moving the ball or shooting it into a goal. You have to get your body and the ball, or you have to get the ball into that goal.
Right, it's like a volleyball.
Yeah. Yeah, so the ball that you guys use is like a volleyball. And so these guys, and then essentially they're in wheelchairs that are sort of armored out, and they're using those to ram into each other. Bumper cars too.
Yep.
Full contact bumper cars. You're not necessarily fighting or taking swings at each other. Incidental contact can happen like that, but chairs are fair game.
Full smash. Yeah, and you'll see when you have, first of all, that the wheelchairs are not just regular wheelchairs. Like you said, they're armored out. They're specially custom. Each one costs about $6,000 to $9,000.
Yeah.
And they last you about 3 years, something like that. So when you have them, they're shiny, they're brand new, the metal's nice and pretty. But man, after, I don't want to say one season, it's scuffed up, it's bent, it's banged.
Covered stickers.
It's like
NASCAR. And it does look like a NASCAR?
It's not.
Sponsorships?
No, that would not be a bad idea to do that one year. That's a completely different story. But it's covered in scratches. It's covered in bumps. And they're beat up. They crack. And they're taking a massive beating. People, if your fingers were to be caught in between two chairs coming at each other, broken, instant.
Because like you said, you're one of the fastest. So like, what would you say? Ground speed clocked, speed like.
I believe I can do a full court sprint in about 7 seconds flat, which I want to say the top end is about 6.2, and the bottom being around the 10.
And then one of the things then that this is important. So for lack of a better term, similar to like if we were playing golf and I was an avid golfer and I'd have what they call a handicap. And so there's a scoring ratio. And so that you were explaining that at first, based on your, physical abilities, like what you have, every player has a certain point score.
That's right.
That they're related to. And when you're on a team or a side that's playing at that time, you can only reach a certain number of points.
8 points. Yeah. The range is from 0.5 to 3.5. You can only have 8, and you have to have all 4 on the court. Okay. So about 3.5 is the highest that they usually dominate the score. You can't have all 4 3.5s.
So that would be let's just say somebody whose legs are strapped into the chair and they almost have full range of motion from their hips up. Their arms may look like mine, full range of motion in their hands, ready to go. That's going to be like a 3.5 type score.
Almost ineligible.
Almost an elite.
Yeah, versus almost two-way function to play.
It's because then they have to have people that throughout the rest of their team that have lesser mobilities or lesser ability to, because I think there's guys that have one arm that play. So they roll, they have the ball settled in their crotch or in their legs, and they roll and then pass and move.
Yep. I play for the one of the Tampa teams. They're called the Wounded Warriors Abilities Ranch. Okay. Warriors and WWAR. So, and then we actually have 2 teams over there. One of those is the Generals and the Warriors. Now the Generals have a teammate of mine. His name is Anthony, and Anthony is a former veteran who stepped on the IED, and so he's missing an arm and he's missing his legs. Okay. He uses prosthetics to walk around. If not, he prefers wheelchair much easier. Yeah. He is dominant. Yeah, he is right now on the Team USA squad, and whenever he has the ball in his socket, he's almost uncapturable.
That might have been the guy that I've seen, right? Because like I said, I've seen a guy with one arm that's out there just rocking. And yes, so he may have been the guy listening. That's awesome. So okay, just I want to make sure that everybody understands that. Yeah, that's you've got a varying level, and everybody's out there on the court, and so there's you can sub in, sub out. Do you sub in and sub out on the fly, or is it the timeouts?
Yep, that's how it's scheduled. It's a timeout, and during a timeout, an eligible timeout, you can swap people in, and you can swap 3, all 4, people 1 to try to manipulate your lineup to stay within those 8 points. Mm-hmm. Still have and we have a legal lineup, but whatever feel the best chance to win.
Yeah, there's obviously strategy based around all of it. So kind of like maybe basketball during free throws, like you could do subs like during that kind of a timeout type time, like doing free throws or that sort of thing. In basketball, subs come on. Unlimited subs during the match.
Yes, unlimited subs. I will say though that it is extremely strategic. Yeah, there's a lot of focus, and I was kind of going towards this, or maybe about 5 minutes ago, and I kind of got off track. But it's the sport has become extremely competitive, and it's grown in a huge way, and so people take it very, very, very seriously. However, when I started out, it was leisure. Yeah. People would play on for say Friday, Saturday, Sunday, but at nights we'd be partying. Get you at a hotel and getting together till 1, 2 a.m. And drinking or having a good time. And then the next day, you kind of have a hangover, but you're still going out there playing. Nobody does that anymore because they're way too concerned about being athletes.
Yeah.
And which is why you see me going out and exercising throughout the week is because I consider it serious too. I'm out there and I train like at a professional after. I treat this like a job.
Yeah.
So you'll see me doing sprints. You'll see me doing weighted ball, long runs for going out for 5 miles as fast as I can. And I'm putting in effort.
Yeah.
So not only am I doing that, but others are seeing me do it and others people doing it. And to just keep up, we all have to be trained like professionals. So now it's become very, very, very competitive. And no one treats it like a joke anymore. So, and that's why it's not called Murderball anymore. Is because in order for the sport to grow, it was difficult to have sponsorships for sports that had the word murder.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to do that.
Basically, like, wait, what is this, like WWE? Like, what are we, you guys wrestling on the weekends kind of thing? Like, yeah. So a wheelchair rugby, and then it's in a Paralympic sport now.
Yeah.
And so you guys considered amateurs so that you can compete in the Olympics.
Mm-hmm.
And is there any sort of a professional league or so you say the team in Tampa has two teams.
Yeah.
Like who competes? Where people compete for this?
It is a national league. There are teams in cities across the country, and our national championship is being hosted in Tampa in May 1st through the 4th, for about 2-3 years. So all the teams all across the country, and they qualify for nationals to come play. Here about 24 teams, I think, from here come down in a massive venue and fight for a championship spot.
Oh yeah.
So, but that is our country's league. But there are teams also in other countries that have their own kind of leagues, and then there's the international, and then that is USA versus Canada versus Sweden versus Great Britain and Japan. All that. So we'll actually have the countries. So that is also a part of our Olympic Paralympic squad.
Yeah, because you can't just do every 4 years Olympics. You've got to have competitions, and we're seeing this on a lot of sports now where they're promoting new turns. Obviously, some of it's for money, like for television type stuff. But we're seeing like soccer teams. They're making these like I keep going back to soccer, but like League Nations where you're having all the nations play. Not just for the original cups like Copa America and stuff, but they're having like different ones because some of it is practice for the Olympics or practice for the World Cup. So there's international competitions similar to Olympics like a World Cup for wheelchair.
Yeah, and but the sport has gotten so intense and fast. As people would continue training, everyone gets faster, which means there's more injury.
Yeah,
there's more concussions now though. Personally, I had about maybe 6 stitches up on my eyebrow from someone who hit me from behind, and I spun out and slammed my head against the floor, and it just busted my eyelid open. I had to go to the urgent care and try to stitch it up, and then cut back in.
Oh my god, yeah. So hockey style, get stitches and get back on it.
So just because we're in wheelchairs does not mean it's pretty and slow and it's violent and people get hurt.
Well, that's what, like, watching it and I'm like, dude, these guys are already have sustained traumatic injuries in life, and they're out there smashing each other and getting to the point where it could be like another injury. And because that's the thing is when you're watching it and your lower half or your legs are going to be kind of buckled in or strapped in to keep you stable in a platform in the chair, and then some of these chairs get spilled over, like you explained. And I don't know if I could survive falling over in a chair. I mean, I'm sure I'd be out of commission for a few weeks at work if I just fell out of this chair I'm sitting in right now at the table.
I'll let you go.
Smashing into each other.
There is an idea floating around. There's a couple of us guys who do play rugby down here in South Florida. We were thinking about putting together some sort of fundraiser where maybe we all brought a bunch of chairs and about 4 extra ones where people who have never been seen the sport, never been exposed, and I mean people like you, any one of your listeners that just jumps in and tries it for half an hour.
Yeah,
actual game,
no doubt.
And just to see what it's like. How fast do you get your arms moving? And I give it a shot. I think a bunch of people would love to give it a shot.
Yeah, I just I'm envisioning that that anime or cartoon stress, like the spikes kind of coming off of me or off somebody else coming at me and going, oh crap, like, you know, because it, to me, it feels like it'd almost be the same as if the Dolphins said, hey, come out to practice one day, we're gonna line you guys up. Like in that sport or in that realm, I don't see you guys any different than some a safety coming across the middle with me trying to be a wide receiver in the NFL and catch a ball, and then the safety laying me out. I feel like it would be almost the same thing with you guys if we're on the court and I'm like an equal in a chair trying to move the ball and move around. I mean, I wouldn't even be an equal because I'd be deficient in my abilities to know exactly where to hit the wheels with my hands and to get moving and
we should try it.
I think I would. I don't have to tell her, hey, go a little easy on me, please. I mean, I'll probably show up with like elbow pads and a helmet and stuff like that, you know, like, because you guys don't play with any kind of, you guys play with any kind of pads? I've seen like helmets or elbow pads or anything like that to, you know, even brace yourself if you had to put your arm out if you fell.
I wear some sleeves because I've used my elbows to help me break a little bit, and I have gotten some nasty road rashes on the inside, which caused some nasty infections, and I have been at the hospital for. But other than that, nothing, no pads, just I think just used to go. It's got like, you know how rugby they don't actually have pads.
No,
you know that's why they kind of jacked up noses.
Oh yeah, those guys.
They're hard. They don't play.
And that's the thing with rugby is there's a technique to tackling. There's a technique to hitting in rugby, and so that's where you'd have to definitely do, if you did this sort of thing, you'd have to do a little bit of a catch up, a briefing on how to get these volunteers that are jumping in to learn how to do it. A little bit of work, because you guys are going to come in there and it's going to rock my world, I'm sure. But yeah, no, I think it'd be super fun. And it'd be cool to get more awareness about the sport. And I think, going way back to the early part of this conversation was, reaching out and creating that network. The exposure creates a larger network for, somebody that's just, maybe sitting, how to do with my life now. That's right. It gets in that depression or gets scared or doesn't know what to do. And, even if it was just to create a fan, I'm not going out there and playing soccer, but I'm an avid soccer fan, and once in a while we do a little bit of a charity game and play, but cramping up and, dehydrated, stuff like that, running around the field trying to play soccer. Like,
so
I'd rather just be a fan.
Life is all about networking.
Yeah.
And otherwise, if usually in our own little bubbles, but we kind of wouldn't be exposed to other people's stories, or you never know when you might go through something where you might need the relationship you built a year ago.
Yeah.
And so the more networks we had in different areas, it's we're even better off we are.
Oh.
So this is just one area that no one would even think about becoming aware of. But when you do, you never know who you're going to meet. You might meet someone 2 years from now who you heard through, I don't know, both social media that they were in that car accident. Mm-hmm. And now they're paralyzed from the waist down. But you met that guy some years ago, and you know who to link him up with, who's going to help him out.
Yeah.
And so, it's been like this. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just for the future.
Mm-hmm. No, because it's never going to stop. It'll continue to happen. You could have a car accident. You could have a workplace type injury. You could have all kinds of stuff, and it's never going to stop. There's always needs to be connections for people to learn about. When they're tasked with this sort of a situation where they gotta fight through something, some type of adversity, so they can continue to live for their family, to raise their kids, to provide and everything like that. It's cool. It's cool. So what else about? I mean, we talked about wheelchair rugby some more.
So there were honestly 3 different types of recurring ways to get injured. Now, I love talking to people who have stories, right? Because you can always, like I told you about mine, well, car accident, well, where must people with tree? Yeah, there are people, some really interesting ones up there. Go on. I heard the one, a guy who was going on a dirt bike on a field, and the owner of the field was pissed off that it was always people coming in and riding on his dirt.
We deal with that all the time. Yeah.
Yep. So he purposely dug a hole and it covered it, so no one could see it. And then this guy fell into the hole for riding a dirt bike, broke his neck. Another one, a guy was a tractor rolled over, and he broke his neck that way. There's so many stories out there that are mind blowing. A friend of mine I know about a Canadian girl. She was hit by a taxi and was launched.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine here in South Florida, he was also walking in New York with his best friend, and a truck driver killed his friend, and he was launched also about a couple 100 feet, and then he was also his cardiac injury too. So there's so many things out there. However, the 3 hence seek to be most referring are car accidents, diving into shallow water.
The Miami-Dade firefighter that was skimboarding, I think, in South Florida. He's a big one because he's in one of those spaceship chairs that I mean, because I think he's neck down completely. I remember him, and he was right there at the beach.
Yep.
But yeah, diving into shallow water is, I mean, my wife with her career, so she works at hospital now. So it's like she sees all kinds of injuries, and it's just consistently like, I mean, to the most basic of, she's a hand therapist. She calls them avocado hands. Like when you cut, everybody in South Florida probably cuts avocados where they just cut. But what you don't realize is if you miss and you cut those tendons in your hand, it's a huge injury. So avocado hands. It's got a real technical term. Is
that another term that they actually use, avocado hands?
In the industry, it's an industry term. Like it's not like it published. Like it doesn't say avocado hands, but but you got to think, and everybody knows that cuts avocados. They're cutting them with their hands, and they're dealing with it like that. And you're using a knife and slice your hand open. So when my wife cuts her avocados, she holds it on the table and just works through it. But it just consistently, like I bought during, I think it was during a pandemic kind of time, not because of the pandemic, but I bought a one wheel, so a skateboard that has the one wheel balancing thing, and I'm skateboard and I'm riding around, and I'm real slow because, like I said, I've broken my wrists before when I've played hockey, and I feel like I'm prone to injury, and so by the end of it, my wife was just kind of like, "Can you please just get rid of that thing?" And I had it for like 9 months, and I didn't use it that much, but I thought it'd be fun. Like, I had a Tesla. I'm going to put it in the front of the Tesla, the little front there. And when I go somewhere, then I'm just going to go ride. And I'm going electric, and it's fun. And, but it's just, there's so many opportunities or times where I bailed on it, and, you're going and you just like kind of hit something and you got to bail. And it's like, I'm going to freaking read my wrists again, or I'm going to do this, or I'm going to hit my head, get a TBI, or it. So my wife's just, you got rid of it. Yeah, I sold it. I sold it to some guy. He has a boat, and he goes to the Bahamas. So he found it as better than bringing a bike with him. He'd have that. So like when he docks it and then he goes into town, he just rides the one wheel into town and does his thing, and then comes back to the boat and all that kind of stuff. Instead of bringing a bike and bring a whole bike or whatever. That was kind of his idea for it. So I was like, all right, cool. Well, thanks for my money. I'll take. And I got rid of it, sold it. But I watched the Instagram videos and I felt like, I could do that. I was doing okay, but I was by no means shredding on it. And I chose to protect myself. So
I totally got up. I've not seen, because I've seen the two skates, the two skates, the one in the front ripstick. Seen a ripstick.
Okay,
hoverboards. I had not seen the one wheel yet.
Yeah, one wheel is just like a skateboard, but like front to back, and there's one big kind of rounded tire in the middle, and then it's using gyros and everything. It's science fiction. It's sophisticated, and there's like the foot pads can kind of tell like where your weight's distributed, and you can kind of, then you just lean forward a little bit and it pushes and it just goes. So you keep your feet on it, and then when you want to slow down, you just lean back. So like a Segway, but on a skateboard. So, and the idea is that you can kind of carve and go back and forth like a snowboard on land, or not on snow, and they're sweet, but it's dodging, just like a Segway. That thing gives way and you're leaning forward. Where are you gonna go? You're gonna keep going, and the wheels are gonna stop. You're gonna flip. So
let me ask you this. It's kind of and switching it just a little bit. Go right. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
okay.
So let's say in your profession, if you have someone like me now causing trouble and breaking the law, what changes in your process of, let's say, when you have to do an arrest or take someone in or anything? How does the things change? If you were to try to handcuff me behind my back, I would probably fall over.
Yeah.
So what changes?
So yeah, okay. Yeah. I got a couple different stories. I used to work a detail in a bar, and this gentleman used to come in a wheelchair all the time. And, he at one point had a gun in his hoodie in the pouch in front of it. And my partner, he was working it. He saw the gun and the guy's hand was in there, and we took him down, wheelchair and all, took him down, took the gun, because it appeared that he was pointing that gun. It's like, dude, whatever you got to do. And at that time, that was years ago. So concealed carry was, it wasn't constitutional carry like it is now in the state of Florida. It was in Broward. And so nowadays you can carry a weapon concealed. But by all means, if I see out the one side of your little marsupial pocket, that muzzle moving around, you look like you're about to shoot somebody. That's different. He was inside. It wasn't like, oh, I'm cold and I'm warming my hands up and my gun just happens to be there. You're not doing a good job of concealing that firearm. This was years ago, so to conceal a firearm, you needed a permit, and he didn't have a permit, so he went to jail we didn't charge him with attempted murder or whatever. We just, so there's that.
But does that look like when you actually putting him in the car? Does you roll himself? Do you roll him? Did you put handcuffs on him? So
I can definitely speak to recently. I had to pick up a guy in another city that we have a warrant for, and our detectives wanted me to pick him up or whatever. He was able to stand, but not for parole. He was indigent. He was homeless. He lived in a wheelchair, and he used to steal a lot from Walgreens and stuff. And it's like, dude, you kind of stick out. You're a big dude in a wheelchair. I think Walgreens recognizes you when they know you're stealing. So, but I had to get him in my car. I think that with my background with my wife, I have a little bit of extra training, which we don't all have. And I think it's important for us to be conscious and knowledgeable of people's abilities to, move, ambulate, get in the back of police cars. And then also how I can pick you up and move you. Because if you can't physically stand on your feet, I can't put the chair, we don't have, it says at Disney, I'm allowed to roll in row of my police car. And I can't necessarily, if you don't have an injury per se that you need to go get treated at the hospital, I'm not going to throw you in the back of a rescue truck and go with you to the hospital and then sit with you. Eventually you have to get your butt to jail.
Yeah.
However it may be. Just because you're in a wheelchair doesn't mean you're immune to crime or committing a crime. So I would, be with my understanding of, getting people under the armpits is usually one of a safer way than, yanking them by their arms and trying to pick them up and dislocating shoulders and stuff. We learn this with kids and everything. So it's the same thing with adults. They're just heavier. So yeah, I'd get partners. Unfortunately, you'd have to work with me. It's going to be dependent. If the person was going to be a complete asshole, we'd have to make do, but I'm going to have to get you into the car. But then that in turn brings up another question. How are you able to hold yourself up? We have seatbelts in the police cars, but should I pad something on the one side of the car to prevent you, when I take a left turn, from you, depending on who it is. Say it's this gentleman that you were talking about that lives in Tampa that doesn't have legs. It's a tough question.
Yeah.
It's a tough question. It might be one of those things like, oh, maybe he didn't do that and cover our eyes and whatever. But yeah, people get arrested, and we're gonna have to take a little bit more time to figure all this stuff out. How do you arrest a guy with one arm? Or how do you put a guy with one arm in handcuffs? One of the ways to do that is a belly band with a shackle in the front. Then you can shackle just the arm. So then, for those in podcasting, you put a belly band around there, it has a Velcro strap, and then the handcuff gets handcuffed to a shackle that's on it or around the belly band, and then at least that arm is restrained and tough and stuck to the body, for the most part.
So you kind of mentioned it, and like for me personally, I don't have trunk control.
Right.
If it wasn't for my arms holding me up, I would just fall over.
Right.
Right. So if you put me in handcuffs, I might fall over.
Yeah.
So would you wait to handcuff me till we got to a safer place, or upright? Like, hey, please get yourself into the car. I could be. You can do that. What?
Yeah. I mean, because there's no policy on it. Per our policy, it's a blanket person has to be handcuffed in their car. It's the same thing if we have to give somebody a ride. Per our policy, we're supposed to be handcuffing them in the back of their body to go if we're driving a kid or a person somewhere else. Just helping them, just giving them a lift. We don't do it a lot, but sometimes you do. So yeah. But I definitely agree, and with a heart, accommodations need to be made. Yes, this person has to face the charges of a crime that they committed, but we've got to also have art, and we can't just, that goes all the way back to the person that's been pepper sprayed. We got to try and take care of them and aid to them before we throw them in the back of the car, because it might induce a breathing problem with them. They could die. Just like trunk manipulation, you fall over and then they restrict an airway and you may have difficulty breathing. And if I'm sitting there with my head up my ass driving you out to jail on the traffic, and then you die in custody, it's terrible. So when an officer has control of that person, we've got to do our best to accommodate what's going on. The more recent guy that I arrested, that he was in a wheelchair, I was able to, he knew the jig was up. He was able to stand, but it was easier for him to be in a chair longer period, because he's panhandling out on the street doing his thing like that. So he'd been shot in the butt, and so he was kind of messed up through there. And so yeah, I got him to I got him to the car. He was able to stand up, and then we rotated, and then he sat down. I got him in, but I use a little bit of my education that I got from my wife about getting people in and out of cars. You see some of it when you bring a wife home from giving birth or someone home from surgery. You've got to be a little bit more intentional with the movements of how you get them in the car, how you sit them down and then turn their legs, and because it's the same sort of thing. We can't just shove somebody into a car like they're a cat, even if they're full body. We move them in, you see it on TV, you guard the head so somebody doesn't bang their head in the car and stuff. Gotta try and take care of those people, because we could lose our gal, keep some of these stuff.
It just sounds like it's a very gray area. Hey, I allowed room for misinterpretation, screw-ups.
Yeah.
It's not written. No. So what about this? How about if I need to spend the night in jail, but I have medical needs, and all my supplies are at home or something like that? What happened to that in that situation?
So there's a lot of things. I think basically the paperwork says medically able to go to jail. So that the more recent guy, he's like, oh, I get blood clots in my legs. I was like, all right, dude, I'm not even taking you to jail yet. We're going to the hospital. So he goes to the hospital. He explains to him everything. He gets medically cleared and checked out by the doctor there. And the doctor then signs paperwork, says he's medically, and he's like, oh, I take this medication for my blood thinner and all this kind of stuff. Like, this is what I want. He goes to jail a lot, so he knew the real name for it. He's like, I want that. He goes, I don't want the generic. I want that. You know, he wants the expensive crap. But so he works the system a little bit. But yeah, if it was somebody, I mean, even a gentleman that was diabetic and he hadn't taken his daily medication for diabetes, I had to take him to the hospital, and then we make sure that the jail knows that kind of medication, and then they get it and afford it to you, and then it's part of your jail process. They get it to you. If it's something so severe that you can't, you stay at the hospital. So you'd be at like Broward Health in Fort Lauderdale, and then what we would do as a city that's not where Broward Health is, the sheriff's office will come in. Sometimes it takes a little while. You do a little tag out, and they'll take custody of the individual or the prisoner, and they sit with them until they're medically able to be transported and go to jail. So I mean, and the thing is I'm humble to where I don't know all those answers. So it would be one of those things where we would call intake at the jail and say, listen, I have a gentleman that has no sensation below his nipple line. He has a C6 fracture that's rendered him paralyzed. He has a wheelchair. He takes X, Y, and Z medication. You guys most likely want me to get him medically clear, right? Yeah, please do. We're getting medically cleared. And then we go that. And then the doctors, that's all liability stuff, really, I think. And then I'll just say, hey, what do you want me to do when I show up? You know, like they'll send the deputy out to assist if I need a lift assist, to set somebody up in their chair or power. We're going to move them inside, and then we'll move. We'll go from there, and then from there, the hospital. Or I mean, then from there, it's really the jail. A lot of kids and people that ask me some of these questions, I go, dude, once you walk through those doors or roll through those doors, from Cleveland, what happens to you? I've never, knock on wood, never been to jail. I've never been to a first appearance, that kind of thing. So I don't really know that way. But you can't tell me that individuals with even your criteria haven't been arrested. So it's possible. So they know, I may not know, but I had no problem with reaching out and finding those answers when the time comes, you know, because it's few and far between. And I think you could probably speak to that and agree that everybody's soup has got a different ingredients. You know, you may have a couple different medications. I may have that one guy that can stand and ambulate for, you know, a few minutes or whatever, has no problem standing. And then I may have somebody that standing is completely 100% out of the question. Wow. So it is just something that is part of our day-to-day job, that we don't know the answer to everything. But the thing is we try to know what's right from wrong, and try our best to know how to find that answer as fast as possible. So because you can't create a policy and procedure that has a flow chart that says person is here, then here, then here. You know, you can't put all that down in documentation. You just have to get it all as a blanket statement where you say you will give due care to the person's health and medical needs, you know, within reason of what they're doing. You know, it's you know, we can't sit there and every person that says I can't breathe, but they're completely like nothing's happening to you. You're saying I can't breathe because of what you saw on the internet, and you think that it's gonna cause more cameras to turn on you and make a big deal and cause cops to go, oh, I'm sorry, I'll leave you alone, and walk away. Versus, you know, hey, now I'm in a wheelchair and I'm diabetic and I need this and then I need to do this XYZ medication every 6 hours to deal with something. Then yeah, we have to recognize that and understand that. So it's job's not easy.
No, it's not for everybody. You guys have one of the most difficult jobs and the most closely watched. Right, you go always under a microscope, and it's stressful. I can't imagine it being a stress-free way of doing your 8 hours, so to speak.
11 and a half.
11 and a half.
But yeah, I'm just good. But yeah, no. Was that any other law enforcement that I dance around that level?
No, yeah, you did pretty tough. Hey, you had night next week. I probably want to share this now. Wait. Everyone else who's come through, and everyone else is in a wheelchair. I know a lot of you people. I know a couple of people who have. I see that a couple of people who had DUIs in wheelchairs. One person's a little bit extra. He had a situation where he got mad at a waitress. So we got down and shot into the roof.
Yeah.
And he also got taken down in the middle of, I think it was like High Beach.
Yeah.
And so, but those are the minority, right? But a lot of other people who have never been in trouble just wonder what happens in that situation.
Yeah.
So this is it's a.
Oh, it's a good point. It's a good point. Probably not talked about a lot. I would like to say that your community is a very law-abiding community, but it's not correct. There's always going to be a percentage of people that are going to screw up, either by mistake or on purpose. So, you can't tell me that there's not a serial killer in a wheelchair. It could be very possible. Watch Silence of the Lambs, and Buffalo Bill, pretended to have a broken arm and he needed help to get something into a car, and she loaded stuff in, shut the door on her, and hello, prisoner.
Yeah.
So, that, and I'm sure there's been other movies like that where people have either utilized the appearance of a disability to gain a level of comfort with a victim. Yeah. So it happens. Yeah. Just like all of us in the world, we all got to try to be good. But yeah. Well, I think we're running up closer to a hard stop because I think I got to give this room up soon. Is there, we know that the social media was somewhat taken away through breakup and divorce.
Yeah.
Is there any other way that, like, if somebody could reach out to you, if like I put it in the YouTube description or something like that, or?
And you know what? For anyone who wants to search me or ask me for further questions for that, I can on Instagram or put my name in there to find me. This is my face.
I'll drop your Instagram handle in the description on all the platforms, just stuff.
I used to trying to recreate, do the exact same thing I do with Accessible Vacation. I'm trying to do another one, but it's just starting out. I still have a lot of work to go.
We'll talk some more, and I got some ideas for you on camera work.
Good.
That I think we'll have. So
I might try to do something called the Adapted Dad. Well, we're gonna see. We'll see.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, we'll see.
Very cool. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate you. And yeah, maybe we'll see if we get one of these awareness charity wheelchair rugby matches going up or exhibitions in the future.
Yep. So let you know.
All right, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll check you out on the next one. Yeah, that's it. All right. Then bye.
Calling all units. Donut Shop has a fresh dozen. Go ahead and take a 1040.